All opinions and views expressed by the speakers are not representative of views and opinions of RBC Dominion Securities, Inc. All information and opinions provided in this video are in good faith, but without legal responsibility.
My name is Miles Durko, and you're watching Wealth Management in Motion. I'm a senior investment and wealth advisor at RBC Wealth Management in Winnipeg, Canada. Welcome to the show. There was a study done. It went over a 90-year period, and it looked at what the average rate of return was from the three major asset classes: stocks, bonds, and cash instruments. What it found was that stocks or equities over the last 90 years on average returned about 12% a year. Bonds on average returned about 6% a year, and cash instruments returned about 3.5% a year over those last 90 years. But we've already discussed that in our society, in our economy, we have inflation. Over that same 90-year period, inflation has been about 3% per year. So what that tells us is that equities really, in a real return sense, returned 9%. Long-term government bonds, about 3%, and money market funds, casual GICs, and the like, really only about 0.5% once you take inflation off the top. Let me tell you a story of the S&P 500. The S&P 500 is a broad-based index in the United States that tracks the market values of about 500 companies. And this is a story that spans back to 1946 and right up to present day. And what we found was back in 1946, the S&P 500 hit 20 points. That was the high mark in 1946. Why am I using 1946? I'm using 1946 because it was just post World War II and sort of my definition of modern times. 20 points was the highest that the market hit in 1946. Now, 65 years later and 34 times higher is where the market was on March 9th of 2009. Why do I bring up March 9th of 2009? Well, that's because that was the deepest, darkest day of the global Great Recession. So 65 times higher and 34 times bigger is really a huge deal, because we're talking about the high point back in 46 and the low point in 2009, and it's still 34 times bigger. And now, as I record this video, 16 years after 2009, as we're heading into summer here in 2025, the S&P 500 is at about 5,500 points. It is more than quadrupled over the last 16 years. The market, when given enough time to do its thing, it grows and grows and grows. I can't talk about the future. I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know what the future is going to look like. I'm just talking about historically how beautifully the market has grown decade over decade over decade. And when it comes to investing, it's time in the market that really matters. And sometimes we get caught up trying to time the market. And I want to talk to you about that deeper in our next video. But for today, I'm going to say thank you for joining us. Give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and thank you for being here with me, Miles Durko, in the heart of it all at Portage in Maine.